My name is Evan Munro-Smith and I'm a director here at Stupid Old Studios. We have a studio space here in Brunswick. We use it for sort of small scale, kind of like multicam TV style sort of productions, little live podcasts and panel shows, sort of bits and pieces like that. And when the pandemic hit in March or so, we decided to lean into that a bit more and do more live streaming, which is an area that we hadn't really done much of before. So we started off with a few Bird Dog Minis, and then we got, when the Flex was announced, we got a couple of those because they still do tally, they still do comms, it integrates really, really well with vMix. It just plug and play, it just works, which is really great. And then we have upstairs, I've turned my office into a makeshift control room, run all that with a 10 gigabit fiber connection up to the control room office. So it's pretty much everything is running through the switch in the studio, which is pretty nice.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Awesome. All right, let's see if I can get this microphone slightly closer without bringing it into the frame. We'll see. And we will... Okay, cool. What's going on, Sherman? Welcome, welcome. The first message of the new year goes to Sherman. He beat you to it, everybody. Oh, and now my phone is blowing up, so let's find out what's going on over there. Awesome, thank you. Hopefully nice and clear at least. All right. All right, cool. So, set this up over here. Close down some of these tabs that I'm sure Chrome is eating up some processing power as usual. Don't really need all these open anyways. Awesome. Okay. So, hope your new year was good. Hope your holiday was all right. We took a few shows off. Primarily the week leading up to Christmas, so the Thursday, the 24th, and then the two shows after that, so the Tuesday, Thursday leading up to New Year's. We didn't do a show, we kind of finished things out, and now we are back at it, trying to get a handle back on the tickets, because they just keep coming along. So, we are working through those right now, trying to get as much of that responded to as we can. Really sorry if you've submitted one and you don't have a response yet. I promise we're working on it. I'm also in the middle of several big things that are non-ticket related. So typically I would spend 8 to 10 hours a day just looking at tickets. I don't do that anymore. So I've got a guy that I'm training over in the UK. And he's coming along nicely, and so he's starting to answer some tickets over there, specifically in Europe, but just in general, just try to get some experience and figure out how it goes. And then we have also just hired someone else that will be starting here in the US this month, and we'll do introductions to him later on. So have another guy starting there. In the next 48 hours, I should actually have a lease signed on an office space. And so that's going down this week, which means that I will be getting into that office space probably in the next 10 days. So I've got to set up an office and get all that stuff coordinated and up and running and internet service and all that good stuff. So there's a lot going on just on the surface. And then behind the scenes, there are firmware updates, as many of you know, and there are a bunch of big productions going on for people purchasing a lot of equipment. And right with this update stuff going on, it's been kind of a challenge to get all that stuff talking and working correctly. So we've been figuring that out. Looks like I need to get a customer set up with their own account this week. Awesome. Yeah, they can always just light up a trial account, or if you want to do it for them, And that's usually the easiest. So if they want to get a cloud license in the end, like obviously not have a trial, then yeah, the easiest thing is for them to just get a trial license and then let us know if they're going to purchase a license, whatever, just let us know and we can activate the endpoints that they have, essentially. We like to only activate one license and try and just use that. Like when somebody purchases, a pack of 2 endpoints, we try and just enable one license code for both, and that keeps it nice and easy and clean and a lot less confusing. Less endpoints, really, like less licenses. But we'll see what we can come up with. Oh, somebody just forwarded me something here. Your colleagues have bought yes, one panel? Yeah, okay, well. More networking questions. People don't... Anyway, it's all right. We'll figure it out. So if I spin up a trial for them and get it from my distributor, yeah, you can. Like, you could... Like, you're going to need their email, unfortunately, to, like, really register it for them. So it's best to just kind of show them how to do it so that they can be a little bit more empowered in the future. But basically, yeah, you can just set it up, just request a trial for them. They'll get an email with licenses and the download code, and they can just get it. Once they have that stuff, they can even give it to you if you want to install it on their machines and kind of get them up and running. That's the easiest. Goodness. Lots of communication here. So that's usually the easiest way to go about it. But I don't know, like from a sales perspective, you might, want to do things a little bit differently. So totally your call. So yeah. Yeah, it's really just an effort to, you just use the same key. Like if you were to, we've had customers, for example, who buy like 10 licenses, and it's kind of a chore to issue them 10 individual licenses and all that stuff. And it also is like, well, which license am I using? Which one is active? Yada, yada, yada. So in this way, we can just enable multiple uses for the same license and just say, you're allowed to use it up to 10 times consecutively. Or like concurrently, actually. So keeps it a little cleaner for them, keeps it a little cleaner for us. The problem becomes when they buy a license, or they buy 2 licenses, and then they want to add 2 more on a monthly plan. Then you usually get a new license because those 2 charges are happening at different times, and so we have to keep that straight on the back end. So if you're buying a group of licenses all at once and you're just going to keep them on indefinitely, then that's the easiest way to do this. So we're going to ban this dude for putting that in the chat. I'll be their admin. Do I have to use a different email? And could I use my keys on their account if they hire me? So the keys are registered to your account. So the account needs to match, essentially. You could, like, if you're going to do it all for them, then obviously it doesn't make much sense for them to have any involvement. So you could just add more licenses to your account and, or create an account for their company with your email address. And that would then, it would allow you to log in on their behalf. And then when they purchase licenses, then obviously we would issue licenses to that company. But you would still have access. That's really I think that's the way it would work out. So yeah, I hope you guys are having a good, have a really good New Year. We've had a good break. I actually took a couple days off, which was rare. So that was nice. Spent some time here at home with the wife and kids, and we had a good little, not little, it was, by the time all the gifts show up from aunts and uncles and grandparents, and it always is ridiculous. And so I've got two little kids, 6 and 2, and they had a great time. So it was really fun, and it's a good run up to Christmas. It always seems like happens really fast, you know, like we're getting into the Christmas season, and then all of a sudden it feels like it's this week. Christmas is this week, and then it's like this mad dash to figure it all out. And what's not helpful is my family all have birthdays right after Christmas. So my wife's is this week, my daughter's is at the end of the month, and my son's is, well, his is in the middle of March, but still pretty close. So it's not fair because I'm usually struggling with gift ideas. So, especially my wife, because she doesn't really tell me a lot of stuff that she wants. So I have to get creative on that one. But anyways, we'll figure it out. It'll be a good week. And you guys probably can't see. No, not on camera, but my bird dog is here. Hey, Dex. He's sleeping. He's been at the doctor for a couple of appointments over Christmas break. So he has, he's not really interested in being on camera right now. But anyways, Dexter's here. He's on the ground having a snooze while I stream here on Twitch. So, good stuff. Yeah, we're ready to rock and roll. As you may have seen on Facebook, the public betas that are out for the P100, P200 cameras are going to be made, we believe, public firmwares this week sometime. So, it's been a long road. We didn't necessarily want to try and rush it because support was going to be closed over break, and so we didn't want to do the update and shut all our doors. So they're finalizing things again this week. Seriously, running so many checks. So hopefully they, can make those available and we can kind of get on with things. We're kind of rounding out though on the feature list for the P100 and P200 for sure. One of the things they're finalizing is the firmware updates for the P400 and the P4K. So the 4K versions of these cameras and the big one, the P4K, those ones are also getting firmware updates, which will enable color matrix and a bunch of other things. So in cam control. So we're working on that and trying to get those ready to go because we want to push all the updates out all at once and kind of have the same flavor across all of our platforms. So that's what's going on there. They will have an ongoing connection that they turn on and off, and they might hire me at other endpoints at times. Trying to keep it simple for them, but also be able to work with them later. I'll probably just add to my account. Hey, Beep Chirp, how's it going? Because turning all the knobs at once is always a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. What could go wrong? Like going into an elevator and pressing all the buttons like Elf. For the P200 update, firmware 3380 didn't fix the problems that Dan said it would. Do we know if all the current issues are fixed? What problems did it not fix? Because mine's fixed. So, you'll be a little more specific as to what problems you're experiencing. So I used my P200 for the first time last week. Okay. And are you using 3.3 firmware or are you using 3380? Pull up my list. I had an issue with the image bouncing. Oh, were you going into a Blackmagic device? Nope. You weren't? That's the only time I've ever seen that problem. My P200's up. What resolution were you running? Feels like the motors that are holding the tilt couldn't hold it properly. I was stepping slightly up and slightly down. Huh. That is not an error I'm familiar with. Just saying something because I'm familiar with a lot of these errors. So your NDI out 1080p 5994 or 5997. Nope, 5994, right? Because there isn't a 5997. Yeah, okay. So I had cam control not keeping track of the color matrix. If I reopen and add cameras, it would show zeros, but the image looked like it was at 32. Are you using cam control 2.0 or 1.1 point whatever? Bird dog cam control. What's going on, Bugsy? Welcome back. So, cam control. Are you using cam control 2.0 or are you using 2.0.4? 2.0.4, okay. Happy New Year. Yeah, you too. Thanks. Yeah, that's weird because mine definitely shows everything at 32s, and if I go down the list and start changing things, and then open the color matrix and refresh this web page, yeah, they all change just fine. And it is altering the image too. Okay, refresh. Yep. So yeah, that's strange. It shouldn't be doing that. Do you have the right baseboard on yours? Close the app. Reopen and add. All right, so it's open now. What settings are you referring to at 0? Because like the color matrix stuff or something else. You said 32, so I'm assuming color matrix. So if I close this, cam control. Yoink, Knutson cam. Yep, right down the middle. 32s. So I'll go to zeros then. Here, I'll just do these first 4. I'll verify in the matrix on the web UI that they're at zeros. Now I'll reset. Re-add Knutson cam. First 4 are zeros, and the image looks terrible. Now I'll return them in cam control. Open the preview. Yep, that's it. So I don't know what to tell you. That it does seem to be working for me. Whoa. Whoops. Gain limiter is a little high, but that was from yesterday. Yep. Still, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Close the app then. All color matrix. It did seem to be one camera doing it, so maybe my baseboard is messed up, but the camera seems to work. It was odd as my camera looked good, but showed zeros, so I just kept going with my show and didn't touch it. Yeah, it might be Um, it might be the baseboard version. Did you check every one of them, or did you check one of them and then do all the updates for that? I've had guys doing that to their fleets, and sometimes they have one camera from a previous manufacturing run, so that would make it into like an A3, and then they have all brand new ones, so then it's, you know, A4, A5. But if you have the wrong baseboard version, you shouldn't have like control, you know? Well, I guess if you did both correctly, you might have control. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, one seemed to be an issue. A1 and A4s, okay. A1, that's an old camera. I have an A1. Did Kevin ever get back to us as to what issues he was having? It was an A4. Does it say A4 on the bottom, or does it not? So I got a mini update for you. You have a mini update for me? Oh, they're all working perfectly. We did a small configuration. We have had camera minis on Gen 1 Unify and the projector on Gen 2. Everything seems happy. I'm an early... Yeah, yeah, you are. Well, that's great. So you are running a Gen 2 Unify switch, and it seems to be working all right? That's good, but you've only got one unit on that Gen 2? Because that's probably fine. I've been advising against Gen 2 just because it's all software now. I really don't like the platform, but you know, it is what it is. Whoa. I've put a complete list together, but for a few of them, Cam Control is still missing some of the features online. The web UI still isn't showing updates made outside of the web UI still isn't showing updates made outside the web UI for some settings. Which settings? Web UI doesn't always affect the camera. This is in Chrome, right? You're using Chrome. White balance one push still requires the use of the remote instead of the web UI OSD. What? So that one I don't get. The web UI white balance one push still requires the use of the remote instead of the web UI OSD menu. So one push, if you set it in, well, let's for sure change it here. Why aren't you using the web UI to set up the one push feature? Like, you're talking about one push white balance, right? So if you set it in the web UI, that's where all the settings should be changed, not on the OSD. You can leave the OSD alone because unless there's specific features on the OSD that are not on the web UI, but I don't think there are. None. Well, yeah, not on the P200. But the web UI is where you would primarily change those functions because the web UI talks directly with the OSD, so all of those settings should be manipulated on the web UI. Cam control doesn't work on a screen less than 1080. You have a screen that's less than 1080 in 2021? That's interesting. I would have never have known. All my screens are 4K. All right. Well, I can mention that if that's a desire. Where are we here? Yoink. WebUI white balance controls are pretty much unresponsive for us. $16.20. Interesting. Oh. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. All my screens are, well, they're at least 1080. Like even the Samsung over there is 1080. Is 1920 by 1080. So that's an interesting find. Alright, let's keep going here. Cam control still doesn't work on a less than... Okay, several settings can't... Still don't persist through a reboot. Highlight masking seems to randomly change, but I haven't troubleshot that one yet. AE response is still only available in auto exposure, correct? That is true. I don't know if they're planning on changing that at all. WDR and video enhancement are still weirdly codependent, but maybe that's intended behavior. The click to edit feature is still missing. I don't know what that feature is. Okay. Click to edit. Do you mean in cam control? Click to edit. What is that feature? I don't know what that feature is. One push requires the use of the home button, which is only available on a physical remote. I mean, technically, if you select it in the web UI, it will push it. But it's curious because this is a broadcast camera, right? So it makes an assumption that you have control over your lighting and that your lighting temperature isn't going to change, like while you produce whatever it is you're producing. And so that's kind of like one of the things with broadcast cameras is they assume you've set up your set how it's going to be, and then the camera, you're not constantly needing to change the or the white balance because it's going to be the same temperature whichever way however you're running your show. So I know that this is prevalent in churches because they do like LED light changes and they go from blues to reds or whatever, and that's kind of outside of the realm as to where these cameras are right now. Not to say that dialing in the manual white balance isn't going to happen, but yeah, it kind of makes an assumption that you're not going to be altering the coloration of your set while the camera is being used live, in terms of once you go off of the live and it's in preview, obviously you can make any sort of changes you wanted, but it's a little strange to me that the white balance the controls in the white balance are unresponsive for you on the web UI. Mine work like instantly, so something's not right there. Maybe we've got the wrong baseboard firmware on this or something, but that's not normal. AE response only being available in auto exposure is that it affects the autofocus speed, and it defaults, I assume, to 48 when you switch to manual exposure, which means that if you don't have the PTZ controller that supports manual focus, you can't use manual exposure since it takes several seconds for the autofocus to pull the focus. Click to edit feature was announced in the 3373 Zoom stream. Yeah, I still don't remember what that is. see. Whoa, that is. Huh? That's the Dante webinar. Color Matrix webinar. You could manually insert the values instead of having to use a slider. Oh, well, some of those are enabled. I did notice. It's a weird name for it. It needs to be more obvious, I think. But some of those are actually enabled because I was just using it. So not on the color matrix, but sharpness, you can put in a value. Anything that has the white border around the box in cam control, you can click it and edit it. So that is a thing. On the P200, there are 4 boxes that you can manually edit. I think it's supposed to be in the final version, but I don't know. Like, at least the color matrix ones. But the click to edit function, it's in there for me. I don't know. I'm not running any different version than that's available publicly. But there are 4 boxes in there that you can use that for. Yeah, if any value is randomly changing, there's likely something else going on here because none of my values change. Like, it's pretty solid, so nothing should be changing on its own anymore. That nobody else has reported that. No one else has said that that's a thing. So unless people are just like not telling me, but I have no tickets about values randomly changing on their own after they update to the public beta. Let's go here to Dan's. He does a demonstration, right? And then they like answer questions for half an hour. Okay, so here, what does he show? So the click to edit is not even enabled in the ones that they show on the preview. Hue, contrast, and saturation look like they should be enabled. You can check that out. Thank you, Pandorica. That's the second one today. Jeez, they're like out in droves. Cam control. So let's switch this to manual coloration. So in full manual, the gains, red and blues, there's click to edit. In the AE response, click to edit. Sharpness, click to edit. Contrast, gamma. That looks like it there. Let me switch this to manual. What else do I get here? That's it. So there are 6 values total, looks like, that are click to edit. Everything is not click to edit. And maybe that's what you were mentioning. Maybe that's what you were looking for. Is that like you want every option to do that? Yes, I appreciate that, Pandorka. That's helpful. I don't know about this AE response when in manual. I need to test that because let's pull this up. AE response manual. And then if I just change it here. Oh, whoops. I gotta turn open my gain threshold. Yoink. Oh. Oh, jeez. Okay, so the you must be in shutter priority when you're doing this in order for the AE response time to actually function that way. So yeah, you say here, the problem with the AE response only being available in auto exposure is that it affects the autofocus speed and it defaults to 48 when you switch to manual exposure. No, it defaults to you have to manipulate the gain and the iris manually. Manual means full manual. It means nothing is automated. So when you switch it to manual, you are literally in charge of both the gain limit and the iris. Nothing is done for you. No sensor changes anything. And so the AE response time is pointless because there is no auto exposure changes when you're in full manual. You have to do it manually inside. You got to open the iris and you got to do that all on your own. AE response controls autofocus speed. My autofocus is, I'll even change it. I'll go full manual and autofocus and then switch it back. It does not appear to change the autofocus on my camera in terms of it being set. So we can change it in full auto. I can change AE response to 48. And then let's see what happens. We'll go autofocus, out of focus. Okay, definitely out of focus. Click the autofocus button. Nope. It did not take 48 seconds to focus the camera. It went right away. So the AE response time should not be related to the autofocus speed. Let's set AE response to 48 and go back to manual. And then now we've got full there. All right, I'll change the focal length, change the focus. Ready? Click. It dials right in. Like that was like less than 2 seconds. Maybe that itself is a bug. The issue seems present itself mostly when zoomed in auto exposure. AE response 1 autofocus when zoomed in is solid on manual exposure. Okay, so I'm zoomed in here. Let's go all the way. Let's check out the pores on my face. Okay, so your setup is zoomed in, auto exposure is set to 1. AE response time 1. Full auto. Autofocus when zoomed in is solid in manual exposure. Autofocus when zoomed in takes several seconds. Full manual. Manually blur this image. Click autofocus. I mean, I wouldn't say several. I would say 1 second, maybe. And my gain is just through the roof right now. Maybe it's low gain. Maybe it's having issues with the... Okay, let's try this. Okay. Autofocus. Sorry, everybody. So is your subject dark? Like, is it lit dark? Or is it a low light situation? Because if I turn the gain way down, like to a level that I wouldn't use it at personally, if I turn it way down and I underexpose the image, and then I try and come off of manual focus and go to autofocus, yes, the camera has to figure out what it's focusing on. That took a couple of seconds for sure, but I'm not lit properly at all. In this scenario, in full manual, and I need to go down to 160, f-stop, 1.6. I'm gonna have to do like, no, that's too much. All right, that's still a little too much. Whoa. All right, so that's all I can do here. All right, there. That's okay. That I'm not washed out here on this. I am. Jeez. When I back out, I am. Okay, so blur this image, zoom in, hit manual focus. Jeez, still 1 second. Like, still really quick. Auto exposure does underexpose, but if I use manual exposure, which is why I want to use the manual exposure, I can adjust everything to look good where it's not underexposed. True, I would still probably encourage a shutter or iris priority instead of full manual, because full manual basically means all the sensors just turn off and it's up to you to make sure that it's done correctly. There's so many variables in terms of like it not working right. What is this? Oh gosh. What is this? I'll try shutter priority after this update. To date, shutter priority locks up. It locks up the camera? Dude, something is going on over there because like none of these things happen to me. Like something is not right with either that camera or just the way we have it set up, because that is not a regular thing. Hang on here, folks. I gotta... Somebody giving me an emergency message. Also, just for the record, never heard of shutter priority locking up a camera. That's not a ticket I've ever seen either. And present through every release of every update. Do you have a ticket number in on this? Because again, I'm. This is not the experience of P200 users. Do you have more than one camera, or is it just a single camera? Because it really shouldn't be doing all that stuff. And when you say every update, do you mean like how far back are you talking here? Are you talking like from the 2.7 era, or are you just talking about like 3.3 and forward? How long have you had the camera? Just a single camera. We talked about it pretty early on from late 2019, but position was to wait for a firmware update. Yeah, but if it didn't correct it after the firmware update, you'd have to tell me. Because yeah, shutter priority should not lock up a camera ever. That's obviously that would be a major flaw in the firmware if turning on an exposure setting locked the camera into some sort of unusable state. And even these other issues, actually, for that matter, like, yeah, there's just no way. Like, again, my camera dials in, it focuses in with like within a second. I think 1 second is probably the max unless I underexpose the image. But the AE response time, if you set it to 1, at least in full auto, set it to 1. That is the iris adjusting, is what that is. So that's like how fast the iris moves. And so I can go from full out, which should be an overexposed picture, and it closes as much as it can, to to all the way in, and it works just fine. Whoops, changed my color. That's funny. Store 1. Yeah. It's pretty fast. So with the camera that you currently have now, you're on 3380. On the bottom, it says your A number, right? So you've updated it to the correct A number. And then you've confirmed the baseboard is updated correctly, and the updated the baseboard, updated the firmware. You're running 2.0.4 Chrome cam control. Hey, what's going on, iPhone? Happy New Year. Nice to see you. Welcome back. Um, yeah, I mean, did they hang on here? See if they have that verification tool online yet. Make sure, verify the A2 number or the A number. Because some things will work correctly and some things won't if you have the wrong baseboard on there. That is typical. That I've seen on numerous occasions that certain things don't work right. Oh, I have my iPad down here. Actually, I have two iPads, but this is the newer one. Alrighty, well, racing around here. I don't know what it is about today, but I've had all sorts of different people contacting me during today's show. A lot of work. Searching for weatherproof enclosures for P200. Any ideas? Nope. I don't know of any. Somebody, who was it? They said they were trying. I saw somebody use. What was it called? It was a company. Dotworks. D-O-T-W-O-R-K-Z. Dotworks. And they had mounted P200s in there. An A200? Found a picture of our A number. Interesting. Yeah, you'll have to send me this laundry list of things then, because something's not right here. Again, some of the things you've indicated as problems are not problems. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss that? Hang on. Weatherproof enclosure for P200. Yeah, that'd be great, Kevin. If you would put those things together, that'd be good because, yeah, a lot of these things that you've indicated are not known issues. Cam Control is still missing some of the features online. WebUI still isn't showing updates made outside of the WebUI for some settings. Which ones? Because I have yet to see one that doesn't change when I change it in Cam Control and I refresh the website, that it doesn't go to the new value. Remember, it's HTTP website, right? So you have to refresh it in order for it to pull the new value. But everything should be communicating now with that. So the WebUI doesn't affect the camera. Like, that is not a thing. The settings should change it. White balance one push still requires the use of remote instead of the WebUI OSD menu. Yeah, that one I don't know. that might be more of like a workflow. Like why do you need to keep recalling the one push button during your production? You should just set it and forget it type of thing. Several things don't persist through reboot. Again, mine do. So that's which ones, because I don't, we're not seeing that in the final. Highlight masking seems to randomly change. That is not a thing. So that doesn't happen on my camera. I don't have tickets showing that that value is changing for other people. AE response is still only available in auto exposure mode. That is true. WDR and video enhancement are codependent. Yes, that's intended. Click to edit. Some of those features are there, not on the color matrix, but it wasn't in the presentation either. One push requires the use of the home button. Controls are pretty much unresponsive. White balance controls are unresponsive. So, yep, nope, they should be responding. It sounds like we have a baseboard conflict, is what it sounds like. It sounds like perhaps you have an A1 board, which would be the A4, A5 update. But I don't know. The cam control resolution, that's curious. Because it is full screen, and I think they probably made an assumption that you're using a 1920 by 1080. So that's possible. I've asked about that. Problem with AE response only being available in auto exposure that it affects the autofocus speed. I can't duplicate that according to how you've kind of outlined it. It looks like my autofocus, unless I underexpose the image, my autofocus seems to dial in within 1 second or less. AE response doesn't directly control autofocus. It affects it, but it doesn't directly. AE is auto exposure response, which is the movement of the iris. It's not anything to do with the speed of autofocus itself. Autofocus is a different sensor. The issue seems to present itself mostly when zoomed in. So I did this test. Couldn't duplicate it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I would say most of them. So that's not a thing. All of mine are working. So if most of yours are not, then there's a major problem. Yeah, refresh doesn't update it. Even if I log back in and back out, it doesn't update. I have to keep recalling the one push because the settings randomly change. Okay, so I'm betting here that we have probably the wrong firmware on this camera. Even if it's A2, we might need to try the other one. The A1 board, unless specified, no. So my A1 is running A4. If it isn't specified on the box, then you use the A4, A5. Let me look at mine real quick. Yeah. So I'm running an A1 with A4, A5 firmware. So I would, if you're having issues, unexplainable issues, that might be it. Browser issues can cause that. Hey, Sherpa. Any add-ons and such, yeah. That's true. I mean, it's a catch-22 because the web UI is so simple in terms of figuring out how to write it so that the stuff shows up. My A1 doesn't say A1, but I'm running A2. Okay. Are you having problems? Did you say you were having issues? By the way, iPhone, this is that website that I know of somebody that was using the D2 camera enclosure for a P200. I can't say that I sanction this purchase or that I approve. It actually cuts off the bottom of the shot. But I know of somebody who is using 3 of these. So there you go, if that's helpful at all. So Kevin, yeah, send me a ticket. This sounds like it's something else is going on here with your camera. It's not. This is not normal stuff, because so far I have yet to duplicate any of your problems with my own camera. Some of the things I've flat out said, yes, that's how it's integrated, but thanks, I'll try. Yeah, good luck over there. But long story short is, shoot me a message and we'll try and figure out what's going on. Refreshing and settings not updating on the site, not the other problems with firmware and such as yeah, we've done a lot this past last quarter basically, with how the web UI and the settings on the OSD and a few other things, how they all interact together. And one of the pieces is hang on. Yeah. One of the pieces is a piece of software that we have called Cam Control that basically allows for you to manipulate all of the options for the camera just inside this little Windows executable. And you can line them up next to each other and try and color match as best you can. So that's been good. We're trying to... the original way to do it was to log into the web UI and manipulate them there, but everything's kind of going towards Cam Control because logging into multiple web UIs is kind of a pain in the rear. And so we don't want to do that. We don't want our customers to be doing that for every camera they own, but instead just going to a central place. So that's going to become our main... We're going to basically stop directing people to the web UI and just use Cam Control from here on in. Unless, of course, you're running a Mac, and then you're screwed. You have to use the web UI. For now. Anyway, so my phone is blowing up, and I'm going to need to help a couple people here locally. I will be back on Thursday. The plan is for me to run 11 to 12, so please bring your questions, bring your issues that are going on here, just like we did today, and trying to work through some stuff and verifying if things are inside firmware problems or if something else is going on. So feel free to do that. Come hang out, come chat. I really appreciate you guys sitting around at the beginning of the year and hanging out with me. It's good stuff, and lots more stuff going on at Bird Dog this year, so we're pretty excited about that, and more announcements coming up as time goes along. So should be an XML. Yeah. Okay, bye. Yeah, so that's the plan, and we're looking forward to lots more stuff happening here at Bird Dog. So stay tuned, more to come. Really appreciate you guys hanging out, and we'll talk soon. Take care, everybody. We'll catch you on the next time. Later.